discussing about data mining, its definition, the KDD process, the methods, and in brief about clustering and the classification. So starting with the definition of data mining, as we all know, data mining is made up of two words. One is data and other is the mining. So data, as we all know, it's the raw facts and figures which are stored at a particular location, and mining, as we all know, is to dig out something which is hidden. So data mining refers to extraction or mining of knowledge from the large amount of data. So it is actually a term which is a misnomer, and it relates to the olden days when the gold was mined from the rocks or the sands, and it was referred to as the gold mining or rock mine, and even when we was used to mine the ores. So why the term data mining? Why not the term knowledge mining from the database? The term knowledge mining from data or database is not used because it was somewhat very long, and when we say only knowledge mining, it doesn't suits to the meaning. So because we are storing, we say we are extracting from the data and we are storing the data which is the raw. So we can't the term data mining is being used instead of the knowledge mining. Now moving on to the KDD process. KDD stands for knowledge discovery in the databases. So the KDD is an iterative process. We will see in the figure here. Later on we will see in this detailed figure that it is a collection of various steps starting from data selection, pre-processing, transformations, and so on. So moving on to the data mining knowledge discovery as a process is consists of iterative steps, and these steps are as follows. Number one is the data cleaning. Now data cleaning refers to removing the noise, errors, or inconsistent data which is stored in the database, where some the values are missing or not available. So we are dealing with these type of data in the process of data cleaning. Next step is data integration. Data integration stands for combining the data from multiple sources, as whatever data is required may be stored in at more than one location in more than one types of file. It may be stored as Excel file or in Oracle or MySQL. So when we need to analyze the data, we need to combine the data from various sources wherever the data related to the required problem or analysis is stored. Number two, next step comes out to be the data selection. Now data selection refers to selecting the relevant data which is required for the purpose of analysis. After the data selection process is performed, then the next step comes out to be the data transformation. Data transformation is a process where we are consolidating or summarizing the data on instances, and even we are converting into the appropriate formats. Next step is the step of data mining. Now data mining is one of the core process in the entire knowledge discovery process. It is one of the most essential part of the entire KDD process. So where we are applying intelligent methods to extract the patterns or the new knowledge. Once the patterns have been extracted, the next step comes out to be the pattern evaluation, where we are identifying whether a particular pattern is required or not, depending upon its interestingness, depending upon the knowledge it is giving us. So that the step is the pattern evaluation. After the pattern evaluation, if we accept that particular knowledge received, then the next step is to present the knowledge to the user. Now this knowledge can be presented to the user with the help of various visualization and knowledge representation techniques. As I have told you, we have discussed this particular figure of knowledge discovery, where the data is stored in the various databases, and from this databases we select the data on the target and we get the required data. On this data we perform the pre-processing steps. In the pre-processing steps, the data cleaning and all those stuff is being done, and then once the cleaning is done, we transform the data by applying the transformation steps. On the transformed data, we apply the data mining step, and then from data mining we are extracting various patterns and then interpreting and evaluating these patterns, and finally we are presenting the knowledge to the user with the help of various visualization techniques. Now this is all about the KDD process in brief. Now moving upon to the various methods of data mining. So broadly the methods are being categorized into two categories. One is the supervised learning methods and other as the unsupervised learning methods. So basically supervised learning methods are those methods where all the rules and regulations are already defined and we are following a series of steps to learn something, and whereas unsupervised learning methods are those where there is no guidance or rules or regulations available and we follow our intuition or heuristic type of approach is being used. So there are various data mining techniques which fall under these two categories and we are collectively studying them. Today we will be discussing only about the classification and clustering in brief. In the later lectures we will be going a detailed study of all these techniques. So classification. So data mining techniques are the classification, clustering, outlier detection, sequential pattern predictions and association rules. So moving on to the first method out of these is the clustering. So clustering, what is clustering? In short, we are today only discussing the definition of what is clustering or cluster analysis, and in later classes we will do in detail various algorithms of the clustering. So the process, the clustering analysis is just a process of grouping the things or physical things or objects or abstract things based upon the similarity between the objects. So and we are keeping similar type of objects in one group and another type of objects which are similar to each other in another group, and then naming them these groups is the clustering. So a cluster is just a collection of objects which are similar to one another within the cluster and different from the objects in another cluster. So we measure the similarity between with using two terms. One is the intra-cluster distance and other is the inter-cluster distance. So when the objects are lying within the cluster, we say the intra-cluster distance should be minimum, whereas inter-cluster distance should be maximum. So like this, so for example, we have given a heap of objects and we say that you need to separate the objects into different groups and nothing has been specified. So what we are going to do is we are going to take one particular object, keep it, take the second object, and if it is similar to the first one we will put it with that only, or otherwise we will keep it separately. And then we are going to bring the third object, match with the one. If it match, it's okay, maybe we will match with the second, or if it matches with any of the both we will keep it with them, or next we will make. So like this the entire heap is going to be divided into various groups and later on we can name those groups, and this is what is being done in the case of cluster analysis. So a cluster is data object that can be treated collectively as one group or may be considered in the form of data compressions. So data types, there are different types of clustering algorithms. So broadly we are dividing the clustering algorithms into 5 types and then these are further divided into other types also. So first of all, the first type is the hierarchical clustering, then is the partition method, then there is a grid based method, clustering algorithms used in the machine learning, then high dimensional data. So mainly we will be discussing these three: hierarchical, partition and the grid based methods. So hierarchical method are further divided into two types, where the agglomerative and the divisive. Then partition methods are divided into 5 categories, 5 categories, and similarly the grid based method is there, and so on. So we will be taking up these algorithms in our next lecture. Now moving on to the classification. Classification is quite is a process, is a data mining function that assign items to a collection or a target category or the classes. Now goal of the classification is to accurately predict the target class for each class in the data. Basically classification is a process where we are assigning labels to various instances of the data. The classification is a basically two-step process where first the labels are defined or the model is trained on the training set. Training set is a type of data set where the classes or the categories, or we say labels, are already defined, and on the basis of that a model is created which is tested or evaluated on a testing set where the class labels are not pre-assigned. So that is a process when we are assigning the labels. So in classification model could be used to identify the loan applicants, like whether a person is to give a loan to a person is less risky, medium risk, or at a high risk. So there are different methods for classification process also, and these methods are can be divided into categories of different like decision tree, naive Bayes classifiers, k nearest neighbor, random forest, and the support vector machine. Again we will be discussing them in detail in our later lectures. Now this was all about the basic fundamentals. For further details you can follow the hand Camber book on data mining concepts and the techniques. That's all for today. Thank you very much.